Hi, I'm Coach Amber. Welcome to the Meet RX Success Podcast. Today we have a special guest with us, Dwayne, and he's going to share his success story. Hi, Dwayne.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. So, can you give us an idea of what your life was like prior to carnivore? Like, did you have any health issues, maybe weight gain loss issues, anything like that?
Yeah, thanks. I'm really happy to share my story. Basically, this all started about 18, 19 months ago. So last January 19, I was on a snowmobile trip and I got my sled stuck in the woods. I had a panic attack because I didn't know how I was going to get out. And the reason I couldn't get out was because I was just such bad shape. I was huffing and puffing. I'd take my helmet off, and I just sat on the snow and I realized it's like, this is, all of a sudden life started flashing. Here, I'm 41. This is something that I've done since I was a child. I love doing. And if I can't do it now at 41, what am I going to be doing at 51? What am I going to be doing at 61? And I just realized that, I really had to make some drastic changes. I couldn't continue on doing what I was doing. I didn't know at the time what that was. I knew that I wanted to lose weight. I knew that I wanted to get back in shape. There was a number of issues that I had, health issues that I had, but those just seemed to be normal. Everybody has those same issues, so I didn't really go into it looking to cure those things. I just wanted to get, a life back that I could continue, to do things I wanted to do. So I come back to I did get out of the woods, thankfully. I got back to the cottage that night and decided, I started going online and watching podcasts or listening to podcasts, watching videos, and pretty immediately on, I realized that, low carb was definitely what I needed to do. I looked through the research and it seemed like, cutting out the carbs was the first thing. So I did that like pretty much immediately. And then it was a few weeks into it, going down the rabbit hole of looking into low carb, that I came across carnivore as well. So at the time when I looked at what I was eating, I was essentially just eating, by this time, a bunch of meat on a plate and, some greens on the side that my wife was making me eat. And I realized, well, if I get rid of those, then, it's not going to be that much harder. So I just got rid of those and went all in with meat. And it's been mostly beef. And, I loved it. So all of a sudden I realized that, the weight was going to come off, and it started to come off quite quickly. The other issues that I had that, like I said before, I didn't even realize that those were issues because everyone had them. The acid reflux, all my friends have it. I was having kidney stones left and right. I was having like 3 or 4 a year. The last few I had to be hospitalized for and get them removed. My dad had kidney stones, so I just felt, well, this is what happens when you're in your 40s. And I had, irritable bowel syndrome, which, a lot of people in my family do. And, so it meant, some days out on a drive on the highway, everything was great. And all of a sudden it would just hit you. And I needed to get to the bathroom as soon as possible, or there'd be, bad times. And, that seemed to, that had been so long in my life. I thought that was normal as well. I knew it was very inconvenient, but I didn't think that it was a major health issue. I've had eczema all my life. I was born with active eczema. And so I just, resigned myself to the fact that that's never going to go anywhere. That's going to be here all my life. And I never, I had done everything medically, and with steroids and things like that, and creams and, all those things that I was prescribed, and nothing helped. So, I wasn't thinking that, a diet was going to change that. Allergies, I had those as a child, and they've only got worse as I got older. Just thought that it is what it is. My asthma, again, thought that was, had asthma as a child, so thought it was something you'd have forever. Food cravings, anytime I tried to do things in the past, the food cravings would bring me back to the foods that I, was trying to avoid. And, I had times in the past where I had lost weight and achieved the body composition goals that I had, but it would always, come back, and I would find myself being overweight again. So none of those things stuck. And, thinking back, the reason being I didn't enjoy doing, you can do anything to lose weight, but it's not something you're going to enjoy doing for a lifestyle. So, since it wasn't a lifestyle, that's why it didn't last. So, so looking back at that period of time, I mean, it's almost, it's been 19 months, and, it's almost embarrassing how far I'd let myself go, considering how easy it really was to get myself back and get rid of these things that I thought were, I never really needed to get, it never needed to get that bad, but it did. And I know it's that bad for, a lot of the people that I know and a lot of people my age. So that's why, I think it's really important to share the story out and let people know that, you don't have to live that way.
It's amazing what we consider to be normal now, what we accept. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you started Carnivore, you mentioned a little bit about how you kind of did it, but could you go in more detail? Like how did you progress into Carnivore? What did you eat? Did you include dairy? Did you use spices? Anything you want to include? And also, did you have any transitional issues like maybe fatigue or constipation, diarrhea, anything like that?
Yeah, so beef was definitely what I went into first. It was the most accessible to me. We're really fortunate to have a butcher just down the street. It's about 8 minutes from here. It's all grass fed, and I can call them up, and even during the time period we're right now, where everything's done, it's shut down, I can call them up, tell them what I want. They cut it all up. I pull it in the driveway, and they deliver it to me. So we've been really fortunate to have the access to the beef, and they have other things as well. But we've kind of just gravitated towards beef. We did. In the beginning, we felt that we needed more variety. So I think that we did try to eat several different types of meat, but mostly on the ruminant animal side, beef, lamb, and goat, and things like that. I never grew up eating organ meat, but I'm pretty an open-minded person, and I saw lots of people eating this, and I'm not really on the one side or the other whether you need it or not. But I felt, if I was going to eat this lifestyle, it was also important to me to be able to eat as much of the animal as possible, that from an environmental standpoint and an ethical standpoint. So we started with liver, and at first I didn't love it at all, but I tried it raw and I liked it much more. So for a while I ate raw liver, and then we started cooking it a bit, but it's really just flash in the pan, and it's raw inside, and it took a bit, but I'm actually say that I love liver now, and I eat liver every single day, 3 ounces every day with my lunch. So yeah, I think in the beginning I felt that it seemed limiting by only eating animal products, so I thought I had to eat a variety of animal products. But as time's gone on, we found that we really like keeping it simple, and we basically like eating the same thing every day. And I know people may think that's crazy, because I had done something similar to that back, when I spoke before about getting in shape, and I did the whole like egg whites and chicken breast and broccoli diet, which, yes, you can get very, low body fat doing that, but it's hell, and it's not something you want to continue doing. So, that was my idea of eating the same thing all the time. And so I think a lot of people kind of have that in their mind when they think of it. But for us, every single day I have ground beef for lunch with my liver and egg yolks. And I love that lunch. And I mix the ground beef together with the egg yolks and fried up. And I cook a whole bunch of hamburger ahead of time. So I only have to dish out a bowl, throw it in the frying pan, throw my egg yolks in, and then cut off myself a piece of liver. It's usually around 3 ounces or so. And I eat that every day for lunch. I love it. And that tends to be anywhere from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. It's just kind of when I get hungry, I'll eat it. And then I don't eat again until 5. And at 5, I eat a prime rib steak. And it's every night. And people think like you don't ever get sick of eating steak. And I was like, we've been eating steak pretty much every night for 19 months, and I am not sick of steak. I do switch it up some with steak. Like, flank steak is one of my favorites. I did try to eat a lot more different types of steak, just, but we always kind of gravitate towards the prime rib. But I do really enjoy flank steak, the taste, but it's so lean that I find I don't want to eat it a lot, because I have found over this time that I do feel best on a high fat, personally, and my body composition is actually best on a high fat. So I've done it, both with 200 plus grams of protein a day, and and then lower with higher fat. And for me, my body composition seems to be best when I'm high fat. So as much as I love the flank steaks, I don't eat those every day just because they are on the lean side. We do have chicken wings probably once every 2 weeks. We get those locally as well, and they're free range. And yeah, so we enjoy those, and that's our kind of like switching it up some night. And yeah, and we do have, I do have some dairy myself. I did the whole heavy cream thing for quite a long time in my coffee, but in my experiments, I did drop the heavy cream, and I noticed an improvement in my skin. So as much as I loved it, I cut it out. I do some butter in my coffee sometimes if I'm really feeling like I want something comforty. And the butter does not seem to have any issues with my skin. So, and skin, as we talked about before, the eczema was a big, something that really started to change really fast for me. It was almost one of the, other than feeling good and losing weight, eczema going away was probably one of the first benefits that I saw. So, that kind of made me want to improve my skin everywhere and even better. So I'm kind of, I'm very aware of the skin stuff. So as much as I love the heavy cream, it didn't do as well for my skin. So I did cut out, but butter, we do have a lot of butter. We kind of joke with me and my wife how much butter we go through. It's butter on the steak, butter and sometimes the coffee. And but yeah, so that's kind of what my eating is now. And it evolved definitely from eating a lot more meat to kept coming down, and to the point where if we were to do 2 days that we were maybe traveling, which we're not doing right now, but and things kind of get messed up, like we really look forward to getting back to that, or we have company and things are changed and you're eating a little bit different. It's just, I can't wait to get back to my ground beef and eggs for lunch and my prime ribs for supper. And it's just, that's where we've settled in. And, and we basically know the calories and macros around it. So we just kind of eat it all the same, and there's no thinking about it. And it's just made life really easy. We're just not thinking about food anymore. We just know what we're eating and move on.
I love that there's a we when you're talking about this. I love that. That is awesome. That makes life so much easier.
Yes, yeah, totally. I mean, she was a former vegan, and but she really attributes, I mean, I'll let her tell her story sometime, but she really attributes a lot of her health problems coming from the vegan diet. She developed fibromyalgia while she was a vegan, and things kind of went downhill from there. So yeah, she did think I was crazy though. To be honest, she was a registered dietitian before we came to this, and she retired from that for reasons, well, I'll let her explain too. But just the fact that she realized that she couldn't really talk about what she felt she was. They kind of pigeonhole you to talk about the food pyramid, and once you learn that the food pyramid is really what's causing people to be sick, and it's really hard to continue to talk about that. So yeah, so she did think I was definitely crazy in the beginning, and she continued on eating her greens and the meat. She was definitely heavy meat with me, but the greens, and until I was able to show her a bit of information on oxalates, and and all of a sudden things started to change. And so she's been I've been carnivore for maybe 2 to 2.5 more months than her. So she's probably I'm around 19 months. So she's, 15 or 16 around there, so, but yeah, she's had some, she has a great story as well, but yeah, so, it is a we, and it does definitely make things happy. It makes things easier. Like, we don't even buy vegetables. We don't buy anything, there's nothing that's another thing, how much waste we've eliminated from our diet, so people think, well, isn't that expensive eating like steak all the time? But, we really feel that we've saved money. And I talked about, basically we don't throw anything out either. So that's a one way I feel we've saved. So before, you're oftentimes going through your fridge and throwing out the stuff in the crisper and, that lasts 3 days or 4 days. And so we were always throwing out vegetables that would go bad, or fruit that would go bad. And we ate out a lot back in those days, and once you start, once you've had, you start buying steaks from a butcher you get great steaks and you really nail it, and you're cooking it on charcoal and things, and you're used to eating, 18 ounces, 20 ounces of steak a night. You go to sit in a restaurant and all of a sudden realize that that 20-ounce steak in a restaurant is, ridiculously overpriced compared to what you can do it for at home. And it's very rare that we have a steak that's better or even as good as the way we prepare it at home. So, we really, our eating out has gone drastically down. And, and not to mention that, the steak that they're probably giving you is cooked in seed oil. And, so you really just stop eating out in a big way, and you're not throwing out anything. I mean, even the prime ribs that we get, the bone goes in and gets made into bone broth afterwards. And, so, but there's very, very little wastage in our diet. And so for that reason, especially for both of us doing it, we're buying lots of meat and nothing that we throw out. So it's worked out really well.
That's awesome. I love it. When you started carnivore, did you have any transitional issues?
For me, I did have a little bit of diarrhea in the beginning. It lasted probably 2 weeks. I probably attributed, for me, it was probably low stomach acid. Being that I had really bad acid reflux coming into this, and being on doing the Nexium for so long and the proton pump inhibitors, it's become my understanding that those things really greatly reduce your stomach acid. I mean, all these truths that come to you, and but like that, my acid reflux was really a cause of low stomach acid, not high. So we think it's the other, I got so much stomach acid it's coming up through, but it's actually low stomach acid, and the flap's not working properly and letting come up. So for me, I think I'll come into it with low stomach acid. So then when I started adding the meat and the fat and stuff, especially rendered fats, I had a lot of hard time with. And I've heard that's quite common with a number of people. Energy wise, for us, because we do work with some people ourselves, and that on the diet, and that does come up quite a bit, is the lethargic in the beginning. And fortunately for me and my wife, we didn't have that. I don't know if it's because we were doing keto for a bit beforehand, that we were already kind of kind of become fat adapted. We had done keto before in the past, and so maybe we were a little bit more flexible in that sense, and our body switched over a little quicker to because we experienced pretty good energy. But I was also coming from a really bad place prior to it, where with my diet I had low energy, and I was it would be, we get up in the morning, we would, by 2:30, 3 o'clock, I was really ready to come home from work. I didn't really want to continue on my day past then. And basically from 3 o'clock on, all I could think of was getting home and having a drink. That was kind of the routine that unfortunately we were in. And so I felt for me, it was only an energy increase that we got from going on the way of eating. And having had such bad IBS leading up to this, that, having a little bit of diarrhea, and it was only ever first thing in the morning, and it didn't persist, so to me, I was prepared to, that was an improvement. I would have been happy to stay having diarrhea from that on, because it was once a day and it was in the morning, and it didn't come as an emergency situation, which I was dealing with before. So, before I could have, diarrhea out of the blue, anytime, anywhere. And so I guess for me, the diarrhea wasn't an issue, because it was actually kind of seemed like an improvement on where I was. Fast forward today, I have still it's just one movement a day, and it's in the morning, and it doesn't it's very the same all the time. The only change is, and if I do have, I drink very rarely now, but if I do have some alcohol, it is soft. And but if I don't have any alcohol, which is normal now, yeah, it's great. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, so now the really good part of the interview. Can you go through all the improvements you've noticed, whether it's your health or go back over your weight loss? You kind of mentioned that a little bit, but elaborate a little bit more on that and let us know where you're at right now.
Yeah, so we'll start with the weight loss, because that was pretty substantial. I lost 70 pounds. It was a complete body recomp. I'm actually, I'm 40. I'm 42 now, and I can honestly say I'm in the best shape of my life. And I'm very lean. I have a full six pack all the time, and whereas before it was like, oh, okay, I'll get shape, I'll go on a trip, or I'll get shape, and I'll for this, and then it would go, But I've been able to maintain that. Like, I lost that 70 pounds, and it's been a. I was thinking the other day driving home. I think it's basically been a pretty well full year, almost been a year that I've been able to keep that off. So because it was basically by in the June that I got down to that. So it's been a full year that I've been able to keep that weight off with very little thought involved to do so. And so the eczema, which was really, really bad, I had mentioned, that is completely gone. And in the beginning, it started, the crusty redness and rawness went away really quickly, and the skin was kind of a different color in those areas. And I thought, like, okay, that's great. I'll be left with this discolored skin, but I mean, I had eczema there for my whole life, so I can understand that that's the way it's going to be. But no, it kept going and going and going, and now you cannot see those areas at all. The skin is the exact same color and look of the rest of my skin. So it was a complete healing of that. The allergies, I honestly, nothing makes me sneeze, nothing gets me, a little bit of histamine, with, like, if I had something like, if I did, I don't even like the taste of red wine anymore. That's kind of a downside for the time. It kind of turned me off of red wine, but if I do have some, I feel the histamine kind of quite quickly. So I guess I do have somewhat allergies, but my asthma is completely gone. I have no puffers anymore. I have no need for puffers. We talked about the IBS. That's completely gone. That my digestion is the best it's ever been in my entire life. My food cravings are completely gone. I don't crave sweet things, which I did in the past. I don't crave alcohol at all. And I think I did crave that a lot. I mean, it was like I was a daily drinker prior to this, and I rarely need to drink or feel. I rarely have drinks now, and I never feel a need for a drink. I'm much calmer. My mother was here yesterday for the first time in 2.5 months. We get to see. We're allowed to do bubble families now with the as per the government. So I saw my parents for the first time, and she was asking me how things are going, how I'm feeling about this business-wise, because I mean, obviously we've shut our company down due to COVID, and so it's a pretty big financial loss, and I said, well, I said I haven't really worried about that much, because I said, had I been eating, back when I was eating my diet the way I was before, like, I would definitely, like, this would have been a lot harder to go through. I would have been a lot more worried. My anxiety would have been much higher. I wouldn't have been calm at all. I would have been kind of freaking out about this, because it is a pretty big hit, but we've been just rolling through it. There's nothing we can do about it. We do what we can. We work as much as we can within our business, but it's not something that's, got me upset. And then, my body composition, as I mentioned, it's completely changed to the point where I'm very happy with my body composition. Whereas before, I literally had thoughts of, being in a bathroom, looking at it and saying, like, dude, like, really, like, how did you let this happen? I remember having that conversation with myself, and now, that's completely changed. So Another thing that was interesting that I never really thought of, my eyes actually turned color. So my eyes turned blue. So, before they were kind of grayish with a bunch of yellow and green and like specks through it all. So it was just multicolored, and I never really could determine what color my eyes were. On the forums, you usually only have a few choices. You're blue-eyed, you're brown-eyed, or green-eyed, and mine was just, I just didn't have an eye color. It was like a grayish with flecks of different colors, and so I never really could, and all those flecks have gone away, and now they're blue. So that was something that I wasn't expecting, and yeah, been a interesting base. Interesting. Actually, another one that was really good is we tan so much better. So our tolerance to the sun went way up. So last summer, me and my wife both, we had, we were able to be in the sun from morning, like morning till night, and we never got sunburns. And I looked into that and figure out what's going on here. And from what I can figure, it's when you get your omega-6 to omega-3s balanced out, then you can tolerate the sun. If you have a lot of omega-6 going in through your body, you get a lot of oxidization of that omega-6, and you get a bad sunburn. And that, when you think about what the standard American diet is, it's anywhere from 20-to-1 to 40-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3. When you're eating a carnivore way of life, then you're, especially if you're eating a lot of pasture-raised beef and things, you can get your omega 3 to 6 ratios down to 3-to-1. So we feel that that's had a huge impact on us, that because we love, we're outdoorsy people, we live on the water here, we're out in our boat all the time. So to be able to be in the sun for hours at a time and not get a sunburn, that's been a huge benefit, and that we're really enjoying. So yeah, I think that's it. I mean, there's so many benefits that I do forget some, but overall it's been very life-changing.
That is awesome. I love the whole eye color thing. That's the first I've heard of that. That is very interesting. And I bet you anything you are liking this new normal, huh?
Yeah. There's no going back. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dwayne, for being on the podcast. It's so important that we share our stories like this, and I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a Instagram. Me and my wife have a joined Instagram where we post things, our story a bit, our pictures and things that we're doing with some biohacks. Because this, once you go down this road and you start to improve things, then you start to think, how can I improve every aspect of my life? Like how can I, because you get, the diet or the way of eating takes you probably 90% of the way to a total new life. But then you start to think, well, hey, maybe there's then it's like these little things you can do to, okay, I want to improve my sleep a bit more. I want to start doing cold exposure, heat exposure, and all these things to try to so we have a it's called Our Infinite Health on Instagram, and Our Infinite Health on Facebook. And yeah, it's just where we share some of the biohacks that we're trying, and ice cold baths, and the heat, just all the things that we do to try to optimize our health. Like say the diet was probably was the biggest one, but now it's like, how can we get even better and hit that next level of health. So that's where we share those things.
That's great. Thank you so much again for coming on, and you have a wonderful day. Bye, Dwayne.
Thanks.